EDCI 702 candidates. It's week 5, February 13th as I'm recording this. Happy Valentine's Day, a day early to those of you lovers out there. Dr. Palermo with a week 5 mini lecture. I do want to muse a little bit or share some thoughts with you about the readings this week, about chapters 5 and 6 in Marsh and Willis, and I guess it's chapter 4 in Drago Severson. Curriculum development and change. You are going to be learning lots more about a change model in another one of your courses. It's called CBAM. It's mentioned on page 171 in Marsh and Willis, but just know that this is an introduction to change and curriculum and change. Later, you're going to dive much deeper into models of change and think about how to be a change agent and to affect change in your school. But curriculum development and change, here's an introduction to the thought. How does change happen in your organization? If it's implementing a curriculum, I bet you it's either top down, and if it's top down, it might take a form that looks something like the center periphery model on page 169. Does central office pull folks in, representatives in from schools, train them, do a train the trainer model, and then send them back out into schools to disseminate this information? That's called a center to periphery model. Anyway, there are models of change. Somebody is actually thinking about this and thinking about how they would affect change in schools. And so this gives you a bit of an introduction to that topic. Here's another interesting thing that drew my attention on page 165. Different places, different times, you're going to hear about tipping points, about how many folks need to get involved in an organization before a change really takes effect. Maybe Common Core has never really taken effect in your school because the majority of folks haven't adopted it or adopted the teaching strategies for rigorous implementation of Common Core. I don't know. But again, these are some stats about, not surprisingly, a bell curve that represents how folks adopt change in schools. So there are innovators, there are early adopters, early majority. At that point, you have about 50% of the faculty on board, the late majority and the laggards. The theory says that you don't even worry about the late majority or the laggards, that if you, the principal or a change agent in a school, gets critical mass, gets the majority of folks on board with an idea, that your work is done. The change will then continue and will go on its own. But again, you want to try to continue to push a change until you've reached critical mass. So there's a thought for you there. I didn't ask you to respond to chapter 5, but there's lots of interesting ideas there that I hope that we will discuss. The change principles on page 175 are pretty interesting. You can't mandate change. We try to do that an awful lot. The superintendent says thou shalt do, but you can't mandate change. That's an interesting thought. In chapter 6 in Marsh and Willis, curriculum planning, levels and participants, here's my one thought about this topic as an ex-principal. In your school, in the actual implementation of the curriculum, what things are tight and what things are loose? Here's my example to illustrate this idea. As a principal, I was very tight in holding teachers to the accountability that we would teach the curriculum. There's a North Carolina standard course of study, and we would teach that curriculum. And I had to eliminate pirates and butterflies from my middle school curriculum because they weren't part of the curriculum. Nice activities, great learning tasks, but they weren't part of the curriculum. Now, I was looser with folks about how they implemented the curriculum. If they could show me they were teaching angles or 4-sentence paragraphs or whatever it was, fine. Their instructional methodology, whether they did group work or cooperative learning or it didn't matter to me. In fact, I kind of got at loggerheads with a language arts teacher in 6th grade once upon a time because she was very lecture oriented. Well, she, she had great relationships with her kids. They would do anything for her, and her test scores knocked it out of the park. So why was I knocking my head against the wall because she didn't like cooperative learning or didn't want to do group work? I don't, and finally I gave that up because her kids were mastering the curriculum, and I had to pick my battle. Well, in chapter 6 in Marsh and Willis, there's an interesting little discussion board activity that asks you to cut up a puzzle. You can photocopy that page, cut the puzzle up, put the pieces together in a way that makes sense to you. Take a picture of it, please, and then respond with why you emphasized or put certain puzzle pieces side by side. There's no right answer on this. It's to get you talking about some of the different aspects of the curriculum. So play the curriculum game and see if you have some fun with that. That's yeah, that's this one, chapter 6. Play the curriculum game. I did ask you to respond to chapter 4, leading adult learners. Drago Severson, leadership opportunities. I hope that you have leadership opportunities available in your school, but based on majority of folks' ways of knowing, this chart on table 4.1 on 116, 117 will help you, again, define the majority of the ways of knowing in your staff. What leadership roles are then provided for folks? What ways are supporting adult learning and growth, encouraging individuals to share their knowledge and experience, making others' voices heard? As a principal, when I learned to give up some of the decision making, I saw that my team rose to the challenge. When I gave them leadership opportunities, they led. And so I hope, again, those are delivering presentations. It says on 128 some opportunities. Delivering presentations in schools, leading faculty meetings or professional development workshops. Teachers learning from one another in the school is one of the most powerful ways that these pillar practices can be put into place. Sharing ideas, learning, and expertise in informal ways, serving as principal for the day, leading peer reviews, examining student work. Again, great leadership opportunities. What might your school be ready for? And reflect and post one of the ideas here. Now, reading and writing is your task. I'm showing you my view here for a reason. I am not asking you to complete all of the discussion board posts, so if you work ahead, you may be at a disadvantage. And at this time, the clinical experience plan has been deleted from your cohort work, though I'm still deleting it from some of your actual Blackboard shell. So if you saw that a site supervisor agreement is due in task stream, no, it's not. I hadn't taken that out. Again, I believe that what's happening is that our university is negotiating articulation agreements with your local school districts, and that the site supervisor plan is being revised. So the site supervisor agreement does not need to be completed at this time, and the clinical experience plan has been eliminated, deleted from your cohort work. Others have done that in the past. You will not be doing that going forward. So thanks for asking about that. You should be working on the OA and the CNA. You should be gathering data and thinking about quantitative, qualitative presentations of that data, the OA and the CNA. If I did not clarify this previously, when you're looking at the OA, if you think in terms of SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, some seem to be asking and confused about internal versus external data. The SWOT defines that as strengths and weaknesses, internal data. Opportunities and threats, external data. Not the only way to think about it, but one way to think about it. Okay, I hope that clarified some things, maybe made confusing stuff clearer. If not, write to me, ask, please. Have a great week. Work on those OAs.